What short steps can I take in order to get an appointment at the government office without waiting 3 months? So I have all those contacts, which just makes for a really good investment opportunity.
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
How you manage to deal with your negative emotion and how you let that go or deal with it so it didn't affect your business decision. Because when the entrepreneur is not in the right mindset and that negative emotions are there, I'm telling you, because of my own experience, they will take wrong decisions and the business can literally collapse.
No, absolutely. There's a couple of things as well you've covered a few minutes ago when you said about success. With the loss of my son, that was just, all I can say for people listening is I dealt with it. Ultimately, I dealt with it on my own personal level, as with my partner at the time after we'd separated. We dealt with it.
So what you did, Mike? You did some meditation, you walk in the park, what you find help, you find a mentor, how you manage, because it's really tough.
It is, but like I said earlier, everybody has their own personal level. And so what I would say would not relate necessarily to somebody else. It's not that I went off and discovered Christianity or religion or anything like that. I threw myself into work. Work was what I'd done since I was 8 years of age. I was now 25. So you can imagine with all of those years, once I threw myself into work and different projects, my mind was overtaken by the positive.
Canalize. Very good.
Yeah, a little bit like when somebody says, if you have a tumbler full of poison liquid, you take that tumbler and you pour fresh water into the tumbler, and eventually the tumbler overflows and all the poison gets washed out of the cup. Very similar to me in terms of the trauma and the loss of my son that I was experiencing, which was a physical pain loss. People might not think I'm talking like it now, but I'm 56 now. I lost my son when I was 25. So, it's a long time ago. However, I still think of him as if he was here this year. Not to the nth degree that I don't focus on other things.
No, we understand.
That was a spiritual being who was fully formed, was perfectly fine on the inside of his mother, came out and just didn't breathe. And that's the bottom line. So, dealing with that, but then also understanding from talking to the doctors and nurses at the time about the number of full-term pregnancies that don't come to fruition. That was an interesting statistic to learn back in the day as well. So again, not being a doctor or a midwife of sorts at the time, you don't know all the stats. If you're not given stats, if you don't know the procedures, if you don't know the outcome and the figures, a little bit like running a business. If you don't have all of those in your business, you don't know whether your business is going to be 100%. Successful or not. So that covers really how I overcame the tragedy of losing my son. In terms of success, the thing that everyone listening needs to perhaps take on board or take away from this podcast is that success is subjective. To the individual, some people might be happy to earn an extra £1,000 a week. Some people might want £10,000 a week. And there are some people that just want to have £10 million a year. That's fine. But success is down to the individual and what they think is success. Somebody coming from a very poor background can make a lot of money and lose a lot of money very quickly because they don't know about money management. So that's one of the things that I teach in my one-to-one training. Some people can make a lot of money and hold on to a lot of money because then they're told how to store wealth, because wealth is just a storage. Whether you're storing wealth in gold and silver, or whether you're down the digital route and storing it in Bitcoin, a storage of wealth and an asset that grows is what people need to do. And they might sound like fundamental things for people listening, like, yeah, we've heard all this before. Well, if they've heard it all before, it's because they've not put it into practice. And if they put it into practice, and I'll give you the classic example of gold and silver. Gold last year, the price of gold over the course of 12 months went up 25%. This year to date, it is up 15% already. So if you take last year's figure at a 25% growth, should somebody have made £100,000 or dollars, it doesn't matter about the...
This is a conversation that we do have with entrepreneurs sometimes that started their own business. And this is what they do. They build the business and they start to make some money. They take all the money, they reinvest it in the business. They take all the money, they reinvest in the business. They take all the money, invest it in the business. And one day, COVID happened. they have a dramatic change, and they go out of business. They lost everything, and don't even have time to process what happened. Where I'm
Well,
sharing
let me
the
just cut in there, Harry, please, because you
yes,
mentioned the lockdown period when people, there were some businesses that closed down. There were some businesses that went very close to the wall. The biggest
yeah,
challenge that the businesses had, the ones that closed down, is they didn't pivot quick enough.
yeah,
They
yeah,
did not pivot. They were told to do
100%.
something and they took another person's instructions who doesn't care about their business, and they closed the doors and they told their customers, sorry, there's nothing we can do. We're closed until further notice.
Yeah,
Complete nonsense. Complete
yeah.
nonsense. I had one of my best years that year. I created a brand new business that made £80,000 of net profit in 2 months.
There you go with
And
the
that
COVID.
was through lockdown. And
Yeah.
all of my clients that listened to me and pivoted quickly and started doing home delivery services way before they were told, oh, by the way, you can go and do home delivery services now. We were ahead of the curve. And that's the thing. If somebody has a business mentor in their life, the business mentor will know the shortcuts to success. We don't have to wait for somebody we've never met before, sitting in an office in London, breaking all the rules anyway, as we found out they were, telling us what we need to do. As an entrepreneur, you make your millions. Then if they want to prosecute you because you broke a rule, you pay a fine and they let you off. That's how the world works. But if you're not making your millions to start with, and you're listening to people saying, oh, is your business okay? We'd best shut you down. Then you're not going to have a business. That's
And
the
then
key thing again.
yeah, then the conversation that we have with entrepreneurs is the following: this multiple stream of income from another sources, and if you sustainable grow your business and you can diversify some funds in another ways that can give you cash flow, this cash flow you can use it for marketing. And you guess what happened? If one day something goes wrong with the business, still this cash flow is coming. So Mark, the question for you is, what do you think that one of five people in this broadcast, five steps how to make the first million, are property investor? I hear that that you're on a property portfolio internationally. So what do you think that property is a good vehicle to become a millionaire? Is it really that easy to become a millionaire investing in property? What is your view on this? Can the entrepreneurs that have any business should look into deeply into diversify somehow in property when it's the right deal, of course? What is your view on all this?
Sure. So to answer your question directly, I don't think investing in the United Kingdom as a sole entrepreneur is the way forward currently in the property market. Not only for the issues that we have with red tape and politics, not only with the issues that we have with white papers that are currently going through Parliament to do with more forced compulsory buyback for older properties and older people. Imagine being in your 60s now, retired in a house that's 8 to 10 bedrooms. As an entrepreneur,
Wow.
I'm very well read. I was actually in politics for 4 years a number of years ago. That's a different conversation, another podcast. But I do keep my ear very close to the ground for what is going through Parliament at any one time, because the number of green papers that become white papers that get ratified and new laws come in, and nobody knows the law's there until it happens to them. And if you want to invest in the UK, people have to be very aware of some of the property laws and the housing regulations and the tenant acts that are coming through Parliament as we sit here on this podcast. Now, that's
Wow.
not to say that investing in property is not profitable. The challenge we have in the UK is that the number of houses, let's say from 30 years ago, where you could pick up for, half the price of what you can sell it for, and you put a little bit of investment in to do a refurbishment, and then you're able to pull out your money and make, a good return. Those days are gone. Genuinely gone. The only way you're going to make good money is if you pull your money into a capital private lending company or a private lending fund, which I operate as well, where we can pull the resources of individuals that have 5 or 6 or 7 figure sums, and we can do the bigger deals. And when we do the bigger deals, because there's less people in that pond going after the bigger deals, we're able to secure the bigger deals and do bigger contracts and therefore make more sustainable profit. The bottom line is, when you're doing small house refurbishments nowadays, you've got the cost of materials for a
Very high. Cost of
refurbishment.
construction has become really high in UK. My God.
Absolutely.
Compared
and also
what it
with,
was before, right?
and also with the labor cost, where you've now got skilled workforce that are lower, and a set of builders bricklaying on your site might come to me if I offer them £2 an hour more to come and lay my bricks because I need my job finishing. And you're with a project that's half finished. And you only have to go onto social media websites such as good old Facebook and go to any of the building groups where you'll have those guys and girls that come out of the bigger training camps that are doing their first deals. And they kind of nowadays say, hey, I've just finished this project after 6 months and we've sold the building. But actually, when you look at the statistics and the financials, they've probably pulled like £10,000-15,000 profit out. Well, if someone wants to work for 6 months for £15,000, I really suggest they go back and get a job. Because at least you've not had to do any sweat labor. You've just done a job and you've got your 50 grand.
Yeah, you don't have to take any risk, right?
Absolutely. So for us with, 5-figure sums, 6-figure sums, 7-figure sums, those are the sort of individuals that we look to attract into our pool, so we can tell them about some of the bigger projects we've got on the go, both in Portugal and also Puerto Rico.
So investing internationally could be a good vehicle, right?
Well, yeah, because what a lot of individuals...
if you find someone that knows what he's doing.
We have a builder who's a UK builder friend of ours who was born in Portugal, lived in Portugal and France.
I hear that it's good for tax, Portugal.
Well, it's okay, but I'll pretty swiftly on this one. But I just want to share the everybody out there, because anybody can do the same thing, Harry. This guy was born in Portugal, lives in France, lives in the UK for over 20 years, so speaks 4 languages, actually. He can go to Portugal. He can pull a build team together. He can ask for a digger. How do you go to a foreign land and ask where the nearest JCB is, because you need to dig some foundations?
My God.
You need somebody who's got language skills. So we're very fortunate to have a guy who's looking after our Portuguese projects. Then look across over at Puerto Rico, where my good friend Davin Michaels, who we've been friends for 16 years, he's the guy that started Virtual Assistants with 123 Employee all those years ago. Davin's lived over in Puerto Rico now for 7 years, ever since Hurricane Maria hit. Hurricane Maria devastated the local economy. It devastated the local villages, and people's houses were literally washed away. Now, when you look at Puerto Rico as a country to invest in, you have to say, well, why would I invest in Puerto Rico? I live in the United Kingdom. So if they want to create $1 million, remember, creating money isn't always about physically creating money. It's about saving money as well. Okay, because if you make £1 million in the UK, you're going to be taxed 60%.
Wow.
Okay, so now you've made $1 million, you paid 4% tax on your $1 million. But you know what? You decide not to be greedy. You'll take $250,000 out for this year, and you'll still pay 4% tax. Then you go to year 2 of your business, and it then makes a clear $1 million profit. So you take those as dividends, as directors' dividends. Over in the UK, you pay tax on dividends. Puerto Rico, you pay no tax on dividends. So you pull $1 million out year 2, no tax. You're still just paying your 4% tax on your £250,000 a year salary. So then you decide as a property investor, well, we've done this project now. It's lasted 5 years. We built a block of flats or whatever we're doing, and we want to exit. We now want to sell the business. Again, in the UK, the government would be very happy to say, well, that's capital gains tax. You started the business here and you've sold it there, and therefore we want another, 40% from you. Puerto Rico, 0% capital gains tax. So who's got it switched on and who's got it right? The UK, who's literally emptying people's pockets before they make a penny, or Puerto Rico that says, please come and put your investment into our country, help us rebuild, help us build new housing, help us do social housing, help our economy. For that, we will reimburse you by not taxing you for dividends and not taxing you when you exit your business. And all we ask is you pay 4% income tax in reality on your salary.
And on top of that is United States. So it's the law. It's like you're actually investing in United States, one of the most stable markets out there, where we have rule of law and rights. Because
and also from my perspective, in terms of obviously through the podcast, maybe attracting 1 or 2 people to have a call with me so they can find out more about that. It's also important to mention, and again, other people can go down this route as well, but we have contacts in Puerto Rico, not only from Davin Michaels, who's a very good friend of 16 years. He created the San Juan Social Club, which has become the fastest growing networking club, pretty much, I'd say within America. He started off with 10 friends. They now have 4,000 entrepreneurs in Puerto Rico that are part of the San Juan Social Club. San Juan, of course, is the capital of Puerto Rico. Now, because of that, it's also attracted government officials to be part of the club. So the recent cruise that I was on, which was the 2nd year of the annual San Juan Social Cruise, I'm rubbing shoulders for the 2nd year with government officials and talking to them about bringing investment to their country. What can they do to help me? What red tape can we cut through officially, not unofficially, but what short steps can I take in order to get an appointment at the government office without waiting 3 months? So I have all those contacts, which just makes for a really good investment opportunity.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.